Well, hello there, good people, and welcome to Dave Diggs History, rabbit hole thereof. You may remember what happened in the last episode. We were discussing largely a what-if history of American independence. Now, the 250th anniversary day of American independence has come and gone, July 4th, 1776. This is still Independence Month of July, and I wanted to get in as much material relative to the American independence as possible. So I posted some material. What would happen if, let's say for instance, there never was an American Revolution? We never fought it for whatever reason. At what point might we have, at what point might we have been granted our independence? Or what happens if we fought the revolution and lost? Would we ever, and if so when, gain our independence? You may remember all this. But at the very last part of the episode, just before signing off, I said, well, you know, there is this 14th colony called Florida. How does that factor into the whole American independence movement and history? And I said, well, the 14th colony, that's Florida. How's this? Florida is a special case I had mentioned, and I said we were going to talk about it in the next episode, and this is that next episode. So of course I have to do some research for this episode, and in doing so, in doing the research for this episode, you know what I found? Care to take a guess? I found reference to the 15th colony. You thought they were the 13th. Nope. 14, Florida, and 15. 14 and 15 are both Florida. I had such a headache. Well, how does this come about? Didn't we all learn the same thing in school from here straight up the educational ladder? There's the 13 colonies, they gained their independence, fighting a revolution to do so, etc., etc., etc. How did Florida factor into anything? Was Florida even American at the time? No. The whole story of Florida and the 14th and 15th colonies, being both Florida, start in 1513 with the Spanish conquistador Ponce de Leon, who discovered Florida and claimed it for the Spanish crown. At that point, La Florida, which is what Spain called the colony, was Spanish property. And of course, nobody consulted with the previous owners because that's what we did back then. Spain administered La Florida as a colony from 1513 straight to 1763, more than 250 years. And it was administered as a backwater. This was a backwater colony of the empire. It didn't produce gold, silver, gem. It didn't produce the Fountain of Youth either. And there's some doubt Ponce de Leon was even looking for it in the first place. Very little in the way of riches. It did produce a fair amount of beef cattle, food, so that's always good to have. But it never paid its own way. Sparsely populated, soil is poor. With modern soil amendments, that all changes, but at the time, soil's not so good. All that's going to change beginning in 1756. There's a war that year, one of many that have taken place since 1513. In the United States, we call this the French and Indian War, 1756 to 1763. And in Europe, they call it the 7 Years' War, 1756 to 1763. The short story of that war is this. France and its allies went to war with Britain and its allies over the issue of who's going to own and control North America. Short story, France lost. Britain won. There are peace terms at the Peace Treaty of Paris, 1763. The whole place is divided up. Well, Spain, during that conflict, was allied with France. When Spain loses and France loses, territory changes. La Florida had to be given up to the British starting in 1763. It's no longer a Spanish colony, it's still administered by the British. And they keep it, both of them, until 1783, which is when the next Treaty of Paris is signed. Both, Dave, what are you talking about? Both what? Both colonies, both Floridas. That's where the 15th colony comes in. Because the British decided we can't manage this if it's just one territorial entity. We're going to divide this up into two. East Florida, West Florida. It's still a backwater, still doesn't produce much. It's heavily garrisoned because of what they would say were deprivations by the natives. And it didn't have a lot of trade going on with the other 13 colonies, not a lot of interaction. At the same time that the Intolerable Acts were hawking off the original 13 colonies, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Virginia, etc., the ones down in Florida, the settlers there were, ugh. Yeah, and? So when the revolution broke out, they had little contact with the other 13, little interest in independence. They depended upon the British garrisons to protect them. The Continental Congress did send an invitation to participate, which was declined. So it remained a British colony, at least until 1783. The United States colonies, the 13 of them, tried 3 separate occasions, once in 1776, once in 77, and once in 78 to invade and occupy Florida. All 3 failed. When the Treaty of Paris, the next one in a series of treaties by that same name, came in 1783, the original 13 got their independence, got our independence. We are now the United States of America. What happens to the British colony of Florida? Well, since they lost, the colony reverts back to Spain. Are you keeping track? Are you keeping score? This will change with the Adams-Onis Treaty in 1819, when eventually the United States takes over all of Florida, ran it as a territory, and eventually becomes a full state unto its own self. Were you able to keep up with all this? 14 colonies, 15 colonies, 2 of which are the same thing? That's what you get when you talk about history. Now, having said that, what do you think is possible we might be talking about for the next episode of Dave Diggs History, the Independence Edition? What's still out there? What is there to talk about? Do you really want to know? Or would you rather just wait for it? Let's just say at the early part of the next century, another little something's going to happen. And it could have maybe had a volcanic effect on the whole independence thing. But that's for next time. This time, thank you for coming. I'm glad you stayed. Comments are invited. If you have any opinions on this or the other, be they good, bad, or, well, hopefully not ugly, feel free to place them down below, you know where. And until such time as we meet again, I have the honor to remain your most respectful and obedient servant, Dave Diggs, coming to you again, as always. Oh my, from a long time ago. Thanks for dropping in. Do take care of yourselves.